Our guest has inspired audiences with sublime vocals, boldly vulnerable songwriting, personal life triumphs, and a firm commitment to social activism. In the 1960s, she evoked both the idealism and steely determination of a generation united against social and environmental injustices. 5 decades later, her luminescent presence shines brightly as new generations bask in the glow of our iconic 55 album body of work. 55 albums. I don't know how that happened. And heed inspiration from her spiritual discipline to thrive in the music industry for, get this, a half a century. That's crazy. Welcome to the Motivation Show, Judy Collins.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here and glad that you could join me.
Well, Judy, I got to tell you, your bio is insane. I mean, I was like looking at your bio. I was like, I could spend the entire day just reading your bio. So forgive me for shortening that a little bit.
It's okay.
So, one of the, of course, questions that beg to get answered, first question in my mind is, when did you first get the singing and performing bug? What inspired you?
I was born into the family of a great singer, great performer. My father had a radio show for 30 years. He made our living singing the Great American Songbook, which of course now we call the Rod Stewart Songbook. Those songs paid for our piano lessons and our dinners and breakfasts and houses. And he was a great performer. And of course, when I was a little girl, I always say I learned Danny Boy when I was in the womb because my father was singing all the time. And I wanted very much to be doing that. I wanted to play the piano. I wanted to sing. I wanted to be involved with that. And I did. I started piano lessons at the age of 5, and I sang all the time in the choirs, in the choruses. I became a concert pianist. I played with an orchestra when I was 13. And then I discovered the guitar when I was 15 and a half or something. So I jumped into the Great American Folk Scare, as one of my brothers calls it, and I hit the road running. I mean, I started getting paid for this when I was 19. So I've been going like mad ever since it happened.
It's fascinating to me is I don't know if the whole folk thing, if you had done it today or any other time other than the 1960s, would have, taken off the way you did it. You were the perfect person for the perfect time.
I was. I heard somebody say the other day, we have to focus on our luck. We have to pray about our luck. Our luck has to come. And, I've had nothing but luck, honestly. Yeah, I've had tragedies in my life, as everybody has. And, but I've had a tremendous amount of luck and support. And also, I was in the right place then. And I moved to New York and I was in the Village, which was the right place then.
Oh, yeah.
Because then all those incredible writers were hanging around my corner. I'd run into Tom Paxton on the street and he'd say, okay, I just wrote this song, bottle of wine, fruit on the vine, when you gonna let me get sober? How about recording that? And of course at that point, he didn't have a record label. Maybe he recorded already for Elektra. Anyway, I was signed to Elektra in 1961 and got involved with my manager, Harold Leventhal, in that same year. So I was just kind of soaked in the music and the river of music that was coming out of the Village. So all of those things were happenstance, maybe, or good luck, or karma, or something.
Well, the guy who ran the Brooklyn Dodgers, Branch Rickey, he has one of the best definitions of luck. He said luck is a residue of design. So you have to put the things together to allow the luck to seep in, or you can call that, I think they call it today the secret, or they they have all other kinds of names for it. But at the end of the day, you've got to be pretty proactive in getting that luck to sort of find its way to you.
Luck is the residue of design. I wrote it down in my, I thought I did. Let's see. Luck is the residue of design. I wrote it in my phone.
Yeah. And the other great quote, is, about life, is that it's 90% of life is you know, really, it's 10% of what of life actually is the things that happen to you, and 90% of it is how you react to it.
How you react to it.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because, we all have ups and downs. We all have tragedies. Some of us can't go on any longer and completely
Right.
devastated, and others find a way through it and to persevere and even learn lessons in it. Right? And
Oh,
obviously, you've been a role model in that.
all
How do you
these,
do that?
yeah, all these things that happen to us are our teachers. Not easily taught are we, because we have to have things thrown at us, and we have to learn to duck or absorb or change or find some resilience somewhere, usually talking to other people.
Judy, what I wanted to ask you, what keeps you grounded? I mean, here you are, you're kind of world famous celebrity. You've been around the block a bit. What enables you to basically, not be driven by ego and dealing with common folk like me?
Well, you're not a common folk. You're a social helper and a social star. So I would say that's unique and important. And part of the fact that I'm here, first of all, I have good genes. My family, my mother, died at 95. And my relatives, I have a lot of relatives in the hundreds, 104, 104,
Wow.
my great aunt and uncle. So I have that, the DNA of what's gone on with me, born with a voice to sing, born with a desire and a learning gene. I want to learn everything. I want to learn, I want to experience, I want to know what's going on. I want to be educated. I just picked up this book called Unknown Knowledge, some of the most rare instances of what you don't know, what you'd like to know. I'm going to pick it up and start writing. Now, today, I picked up the New York Times and I found a biography, no, an obit of a woman named Maureen Sweeney. Maureen Sweeney died at 100 a couple of years ago, but Maureen Sweeney is the woman who was operating the weather tracker in Ireland 2 days before the D-Day invasion.
Wow.
And she reported to everybody in London that the weather on the planned date was going to be lousy. Wind and rain and snow, not snow, wind and rain and clouds completely obscuring the D-Day invasion. And so the information from Maureen Sweeney got to the generals, and they postponed the invasion for a day on her word. Now, that interests me. I'm going to write a song about Maureen Sweeney. The last album that I made, my 55th, as you pointed out, was inspired by all kinds of things. And so that interests me, of people's lives. I've written about Georgia O'Keeffe, and I've written about all kinds of people in my poems. So it's exciting to learn things. You want to be learning all the time. It's interesting, when I go to a funeral, I learn things about the person that I didn't have any clue about. When you do hear everybody's experience with another person is different than yours. Almost, it's almost a good bet.
It's interesting. I actually read the obits myself because if I see somebody who's lived to 100, like, how did they do that? What have they achieved? What made them going? And I think you've already given us some good ideas here, because, the idea that you are hungering always for more information and you're never just sitting on your laurels. I think that's a secret to longevity right there. And every day you're fascinated, every day is a new day to.
Every day is a new day. And I will say, in reference to tragedies and possible tragedies, that I was an active alcoholic for 20 years. I drank like a fish. I wanted to conquer it. I knew I had to do it. And I got sober in 1978, and I've been sober for 45 years.
Wow.
That's a big part of my success in life, because I don't drink, which means that I don't fall down, I don't black out, I don't walk into the traffic accidentally. Although New York is a really hard place to stay, because you have to look every which way, because vehicles are constantly running
Yep.
in front of you and
Yep.
threatening to knock you over. So at the age of 84, 84 is the new 27, by the way. I have to let you know.
I'll tell you, whatever you're doing, bottle it.
Thank you.
It's working. In your opinion, Judy, is there a secret to success? What advice would you offer someone, who is motivated to achieve great things as you have, but simply just doesn't have the roadmap?
Focus on the details. Do your work. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't. Figure out how to do something on any level of public exposure. If you want to publicly expose, start in your living room, start in your dining room, start in your block, start with your neighbors.
Just start, right? Start anywhere, right? Just get going.
Up and start, and you'll find that it grows into something that's actually recognizable and doable.
Now, you probably know that the greatest fear, even more so than dying, is actually the fear of public speaking, fear of being on a stage, fear of performing. Obviously, you've aced that. Do you feel fear, and how do you handle it? And what do you advise other people to do?
I don't. I know a number of performers who have stage fright, etc. I was 3.5 when I had my first public exposure to singing. It was April, and I sang "I'll Be Home for Christmas." So let's face it, I didn't start in the perfect situation, but it was enough. But I never was frightened about appearing in person, in public. And I was on my father's radio show. I sang in the choirs and the choruses. I was always in the school show doing something, playing, Cinderella or whatever. And I was always performing. So anything that I can do in public, I do easily. Now, I might be terrified if I was singing at the inauguration of President Clinton, even singing a song I knew very well. I might be afraid because Michael Jackson was in the dressing room next door to me and Barbra Streisand was across the aisle. So I might be a little nervous, but otherwise I have to get on and do it. So I do it.
Kind of feel the fear and do it anyway, huh? Even if you had a little bit of it. Yeah. Gotcha.
Perfection doesn't really exist. And so I've been performing basically all my life.
Well, there are two songs that you've done that I think I've sung a million times. Not very well, maybe, but I've sung them and I can't get them out of my head. And so, what does Sending the Clowns actually mean to you and mean to the rest of us? And why do you think it has resonated with tens of millions of people?
Because I had the hit with it. And that's the start. I had the hit with it. Nobody else did. People wanted it. I got my record company when we were about to release it in 1975, 74, 75. My record label got a call from Mr. Sinatra's office saying to Joe Smith, who was the president of Elektra then, Mr. Sinatra would like Miss Collins to hold her release. And guess what my record company said? No way, Jose.
Yeah.
But of course, I thought, well, that's a moment for having a horse head appear in your bed. If you contradicted the great man's, I was devoted to Frank Sinatra. In fact, I studied singing with a wonderful teacher for 32 years. We listened to three people. We listened to Pavarotti, we listened to Frank Sinatra, and we listened to Ella Fitzgerald. That was it.
That's about as good as it gets.
Where I learned my phrasing, my clarity. That's why I can do what I do now.
So yeah, now let's get on to the other big one, which I probably sing, every 5 minutes some days. What does Both Sides Now mean to you? And why do you think that has resonated with so many people?
First of all, I heard Joni Mitchell sing this to me on the phone at 3 a.m. She had met Al Cooper at one of the clubs where the Blood, Sweat, and Tears was playing. He followed her home. It was 1967. And she hadn't, of course, done anything. She was a girl, like many girls, looking for somebody to recognize her and play a song. Actually, Tom Rush had recorded the Circle Game, but nobody knew who Joni was. And I recognized the name a little bit because of Tom's recording, but otherwise she had no grasp, no footing, no place yet. And she sang this song to me, and I said, "Whoops, I'll be there overnight. I'll be there in the morning," which I was. And because I recorded it first before her or before anybody. Now you can look at the playlist on both sides now of my version, and you see that it's always there in the highest numbers possible, as is Sending the Clown. So I've been very lucky as we look at luck now with your definition of what luck is.
Well, when you first got a hold of those songs, obviously you had a lot of confidence in them, which is why you wanted to sing them. I mean, did it dawn on you that they were going to potentially be these worldwide smashes? Or
Nothing like that. Nothing like that. I had to sing them as I sing everything because I fell in love with it. So that's a visceral thing. And my mother always said, don't think you invented this thing of picking great songs, because your father always did that, which is true. He picked the best of the great American songbook. And he chose them by the same way that I do, fell in love with them and couldn't get them out of his mind, which is the way I work. One of the things I used to do when I was very young and listening, I would get one of these albums, which we had then, of all the Irish wailing songs, and I'd listen to a whole bunch of them. And then the next day, if I woke up with a certain melody in my head, I knew that it was for me. That's how I work. Now I always know right away. I don't have to wait until tomorrow to have it occur to me again. So that's how we do it.
Now, Judy, I just did some math in my head, and I actually just realized you've been at this for 7 decades.
Yeah.
You start with the 60s, that's 7 decades. So any other tips on how somebody can actually persevere and thrive and still perform at a world-class level for 7 decades? Because let's face it, most people fade out. And others, if they're in a group like the Beatles, I mean, it's hard to believe that really only 7 years. They were over in 1970. And here you are still, it's 2024.
Well, various things. This would be appropriate no matter what you do or how long you've done it or how long you want to do it. Eat right, lose weight, exercise every day, get a spiritual practice, pray, meditate, do what you can, be grateful, have a lot of friends.
Be grateful. I like that one. That's really important.
Grateful. List your gratitude list as often as possible, not just on New Year's Eve. And stay in touch with people who make you laugh.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one, right?
Important.
Patch Adams and Robin Williams taught us that, right?
That's right. I see the ocean behind you now on this virtual that you're in. And actually, I think that going to a beautiful place from time to time, and every day if you can. Day before yesterday, we took a walk by the Hudson River. And doing that, being active, watching your diet, laughing, sleeping 8 hours a night, writing a journal, keeping note of what's on your mind, what you like, and educate yourself. Get the books that interest you. Read them, write them. At the moment, I'm listening to books on tape, which I never did. I always read books. And a few years ago, my sister converted me, ruined my life.
For the better.
Now all I listen to is Michael Connelly books with Len Cariou reading them.
That's great. So what are you most proud of, Judy? Is there anything you would change?
Most proud. In 1973, I decided that I would make a movie about my teacher, my piano teacher, with whom I played Mozart symphony, a Mozart concerto, with whom I studied for a number of years before I threw her over for the guitar. And I made a movie about her life, which was nominated for an Academy Award in 1974. And this week, next month, on the 3rd of February, My movie, which was nominated for an Academy Award, as I said, is being played at MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art in New York. It's a big deal. In March, on the 7th of March, Antonia, A Portrait of the Woman, which is the name of my movie, which was nominated for Academy Award in 1975, will be played on the Turner Channel, Turner Classic Channel. I don't know how many times they'll play it. When I made the movie and we took Antonia to the Academy Awards in 1975, it was the Year of the Woman, and that event changed her life. And that is the thing I'm most proud of. She was not working at that point. She was the first woman to conduct major symphonies, including the New York Philharmonic and many places in the world. She conducted Sibelius's orchestras by his request for decades. She visited Albert Schweitzer in the jungle in Africa to study Bach with him. I mean, she was she was interviewed after the movie was made. She was interviewed by CBS. What's his name? I can't remember his name right this minute, but I'll call you when I think of it about midnight.
Walter Cronkite or someone like that.
No, it was before Walter Cronkite. It was the big guy who
Edward R. Murrow or
not Edward R. Murrow and not Cronkite. It was another guy. Anyway,
we'll get it at some point.
I'm most proud of that because it changed her life. It allowed her to keep making a living, and she was invited to conduct everywhere, including New York, mostly Mozart, the London Philharmonic. She was all over the country and the world, again, conducting. At the
Thanks
top
for that.
of the game.
Yeah, I'll be viewing that because I want to learn new things just like you do. So I'm going to tune in on that one. So, you know, my friends there at the Broward Center for the Performing Arts down in Fort Lauderdale tell me that you're going to be performing in January there. And I know you also have a concert schedule all over the country. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to be in store for.
I think it's going to be a trio with some of my favorite players. And we're going to do all kinds of songs. We'll do Sending the Clowns, Both Sides Now, and the new songs, the songs that I'm working on from Spellbound. We'll do a number of songs from Spellbound. I will probably sit at the piano and perform Since You've Asked and maybe The Blizzard. So there you look forward to listening to me play The Blizzard. I'm practicing it now. It's a hard song. It's a big song. One of my bigger, most exciting, most long-lasting hit. The Blizzard. People love it.
So where to go ahead? Yeah. Well, let me ask you where people can find out more about your concert schedule and everything else that you're doing.
JudyCollins.com. You'll find all kinds of things, including a list of all my 55 albums, when they were made, what's on them, who played on them. With any luck, sometimes I'll find something that didn't get there, but it's not often. So most of the thing, and you'll find videos, you'll find notes from me, you'll find letters from other people about me. So it's good. Or go on Facebook, and every once in a while there's something on there.
Well, thank you. Anything else you want to add? Tell the world?
Well, it'll be delicious to be in Florida while it's winter in New York. And I love it. My Florida audiences are so devoted, and they're so, I've gone to Florida for decades. I love being there. I love playing there. So it'll be a great pleasure for me to be back at the Broward and back in Florida, particularly.
Well, we can't wait to see you. And thank you so much for your wisdom. And thank you so much for your 7 decades of incredible performances. You're the best.
Thank you. God bless you and have a beautiful January.
Same to you.